Well, who says Mitt has got all the money? Because one billionaire is making sure that Rick Santorum gets plenty of his. And this man carries considerable influence in the corporate world as well. Investor Foster Friess throwing his support and cash behind the former Pennsylvania senator. Foster, very good to have you. Welcome.
Nice to be here, Neil. But when you stack me up to Sheldon Adelson and Huntsman, I'm really the underdog billionaire.
That's great. I guess you're just a pauper. All right, you're a piker. Well, what made you decide on Santorum? And even at this stage, when he's having a tough go of it since Iowa, did not do that well in New Hampshire, has in a tough fight in the polls in South Carolina. Why?
Well, if you look at who has the best chance of winning, he has the three stools of the three legs on the Reagan stool. He's known as a social conservative by most people, but others don't realize that he fought for the line item veto, balanced budget amendment, authored the Welfare Reform Act, and has been a huge champion of fiscal responsibility. He's got a plan that he laid out at his speech that night that it had a cameraman bringing a tear to his eye. Some people walked out of the room and says the first time Republicans have ever fielded a blue-collar candidate. And he talked about his grandfather, who at age 72 was still digging coal. And so now with those same hands, he dug Rick Santorum's freedom. And now you have a son of a coal miner, grandson of a coal miner, being able to run for president. Rick has really blossomed in terms of his ability to articulate. His speech, if you heard it, was Reagan-esque, it was Kennedy-esque. And the people that were there liked it because it was from the heart. He didn't use teleprompters, and he wrote the speech himself. He doesn't use notes. So if you look at who has the best chance of winning, it's someone who's articulate, who's forceful, who has clear convictions. He doesn't have to explain any prior positions. He doesn't have any baggage. And
well, he might, though, Foster, right? He might. On earmarks, for example, he's been a big supporter of them in the past and a big user of them in the past and defended them in the past. Now, that might or might not be an issue here, but with Tea Partiers, it certainly is.
Well, I think that if you look at the past, I'm sure he came to stopping earmarks. Earmarks is how the government has allocated funding through the last centuries, I believe. They always had the Congress allocated. So this is something that's been around forever. So the fact that he stopped earmarks and said it's gotten out of control, I think will inure to his benefit.
I guess I know you also are a guy with great values, that these kind of things matter to you. Religion is important to you. Civil decency is very important to you, which is why I find it odd you're a billionaire, but that's a separate issue. But I do, I'm kidding. But I do want to get a sense from you why then Rick Santorum gets the nod and not on those personal qualities. Mitt Romney also gets very high marks. Why Santorum, not Romney?
I think it's because the issues of the day right now are jobs. And you can be religious all you want, but Rick Santorum manifests that in care for his fellow human beings. He has a plan to take blue-collar workers around the middle of the United States through Illinois, through Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, all the places he has to win. He has a program that cuts manufacturing he cuts taxes on the corporations to zero if you're manufacturing or processing something. So you argue
Mitt Romney, despite the fact he wants to cut taxes, obviously he's not cutting to zero for manufacturers and all. That's not going far enough. So the Bain Capital experience on the part of Mitt Romney that has become the source of great controversy here. Newt Gingrich dialing it back a little bit with this ad. You mentioned Sheldon Adelson, the casino billionaire who helped finance it. First of all, do you think that criticism, the Bain Capital criticism, is justified?
Well, I think this is where, again, Rick Santorum gets high kudos, because the press reported that of these three super PACs, they criticized Bain Capital and Romney. Rick Santorum plain out said that destructive capitalism is every part of the system as creative capitalism. So he did not criticize Bain Capital or Romney, and he.
Well, I'm asking you though, do you think that criticism was fair?
I think it depends on the individual situation. I know that in private equity, there are times when companies have to go bankrupt. I also know from my history in the business, there were corporate raiders out there that would take over a company, they would ravage the pension fund, take out the excess funding, and that did happen. But no one has been able to display to me that that's the way Mitt Romney operated. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt unless someone can specifically say that this is something wrong. But the whole practice of it in itself, that's part of America.
So then what, no, that I understand, Ron. I didn't mean to jump on you, but I did want to, the fact that Newt Gingrich is asking that this ad be edited or taken down if it isn't, what do you read into that? Is he getting desperate? Is he getting worried? Is he surprised by the outcry, like from guys like you? What?
Well, he's not getting any outcries from me. I know there are people who have abandoned some of the other campaigns because they're upset about the jumping on the Romney anti-Bain maneuver. But I just think I know Mitt Romney, I know Newt Gingrich, I know Perry. These are decent, honest, good people. Huntsman, I mean, Michelle Bachmann. We're so fortunate to have these kind of people running. So I think Mitt, first of all, doesn't have a lot of control over what that group is doing. And if you look what happens in politics, you get some young, feisty little guy who's just been to his fraternity beer party and he says, "Hey, let's throw this at Romney." I don't know who's doing it, but
it's a novel way of explaining it. Could I, Foster, it's separately, we're getting word now that Standard & Poor's could be poised to lower the debt rating of a whole bunch of countries, France among them, Italy, Spain, Portugal. They could be ready to pounce on the U.S. yet again. Are you worried, as a pretty successful businessman in your own right, that we're heading into something deep, something bad this year?
Well, first of all, who takes the credit agencies seriously anymore after what's happened in the past?
Fair enough, but they are what they are. They're the only judge in town for now.
But I do have a great deal of concern that we're maybe in denial, because what happened with all those credit default swaps and all the meltdowns that occurred, there was a devastating body blow to the economy that's going to take a long time from which to recover. So I don't see this thing as just business as normal, and it's going to take some pretty exceptional footwork on our part, which I firmly believe if we could have a new president, a new Senate, and a new House, the amount of regulations that we could get rid of and allow people to go back to work, just think what could happen to our economy if we let the Keystone Pipeline project go forward. There is a ruling that some organization put down on truckers that we're assuming you're hauling hazardous materials. Adds 15 points to a certain score, and when the score gets so high, the truck has to be idled. Well, why don't they find out if they indeed were hauling it before they declared? Now the trucker has to go back and prove he's not hauling hazardous materials.
Now you're just making too much sense. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. All right, seriously, Foster, I wish we had more time, but it was a real pleasure, honor having you. Thank you very, very much.
It's been an honor being with you, Neil. You're one of my real heroes, and God bless you for your wonderful career, and may your family have a wonderful 2012.
You too. All right, Foster Friess with Rick Santorum, sticking with Rick Santorum.